Hello there, everybody, and today I'm here to review Daredevil Born Again, the comic book written by legendary comic book writer Frank Miller and a bunch of others. But this is what started the whole Daredevil lore, what we'd see in the Netflix show. This comic was basically a blueprint for the Netflix show, and there's a lot of story elements that are definitely in the show for sure. And yes, there is Daredevil Born Again, the show, but there's also this comic. So I don't know when this comic came out. I think it came out around the 80s. And Frank Miller is no stranger to Daredevil. He has also worked on Daredevil, The Man Without Fear. He's probably done a whole bunch of other amazing comics than just Daredevil, like The Dark Knight Returns, for example. He's done a lot for DC and Marvel. But I might as well talk about this book. Overall, it's basically where Matt Murdock is on the run from the Kingpin after his secret identity is outed by Karen Page by accident. And because of that, Matt ends up losing a bunch of things in his life, and he has to track down the Kingpin. But then the story kind of becomes where it's not about him versus the Kingpin. It's more about Matt trying to accept the life he is struggling with right at the moment. But a lot happens throughout this whole book. Daredevil, Matt, he ends up investigating a lot throughout the comic, but he ends up losing his apartment. He gets his credit cards frozen. He ends up losing his lawyer job. Because of this, he has to lay low for a little while, but he gets his ass kicked a lot. Like, for example, this story does take place during Christmas. He ends up getting stabbed by a goon after trying to stop a mugging. But he ends up getting rescued by a nun. And we see throughout the whole titles, it changes throughout. You can tell when you're reading the book. But during all this, Karen Page is a main factor of this. And I honestly feel really bad for Karen Page. She started off as a secretary for Matt Murdock when he was a lawyer. But then she went on to try to go to Hollywood to become an actress. But she ended up becoming a drug addict. I can't really say the certain drugs on YouTube, but you just feel the depressing nature for Karen. Karen, unfortunately, is no longer in the comics since she died in the 90s. Apparently in the storyline, it wasn't very good. But you feel the sadness in her. And even when she tries to go back to New York to reunite with Matt, to apologize, Matt doesn't even get mad at her at all. He just comforts her, hugs her, and the two even walk at the end of the storyline. But a lot keeps on going as Matt even envisions himself smashing through the Kingpin. He even encounters him later in the story where he ends up getting beaten to death and thrown into a car. And it looks like Kingpin's trying to drown him. And this is exactly like the storyline in season 3 where Matt becomes a fugitive and he ends up almost getting drowned because of the Kingpin. But Matt, of course, escapes throughout the whole story. And we also see Foggy, who has a girlfriend, which is kind of like later in season 3 of Daredevil, where Foggy's life is back together, even if Matt's not in his life. But Matt just goes through under the ringer throughout this whole book, as I keep saying. But this storyline is really good. It's honestly the best graphic novel I've really read so far for comic books. I'd definitely give the story a 10 out of 10 for sure. But the story doesn't even end with the Kingpin. We get a team up between Daredevil and Captain America. I think they go up against a villain. I think his name is Patriot. Sorry if I got the name wrong, but he's basically a killing machine. Not like the Punisher, but He ends up killing a bunch of citizens, but he ends up almost killing Karen in a building, but Matt ends up doing his best to take the man down. And we even see cameos from other superheroes throughout this book. But this is definitely an interesting book for its time throughout Marvel, since they did rework Daredevil's origin and they used elements of these books into the Netflix show. And that's probably why the Netflix show really worked, because of how serious and gritty the stories were and how mature it all is. That's what makes this book really good, in my opinion. Even if Matt somewhat gets a happy ending, he gets a small job at the end of the story, and he's living his life how good he can for now. I forgot to mention we also got Ben Urich. I think he's investigating for what the Kingpin's up to throughout this whole story. But everyone's facing some kind of hardship, and it's not like the usual Marvel story of like characters with superpowers and gods. The story feels more like about people, honestly, in the gritty world of New York, of how it can be. So that's what really works about this comic book. So like I said, 10 out of 10. I don't know what the next book is I'm going to be reviewing. I think maybe Batgirl, since I've been reading a lot of Batgirl stories. And also Hawkeye. I want to review Hawkeye. I definitely want to review more comic books. Sorry if I didn't exactly get to it right away. But I hope to do more as time goes on. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.